By the early 19th century, many European guitarists had begun to adopt the now familiar instrument with 6 single strings. Many earlier 5 and 6 double course guitars were converted to this new standard. The now more logical tuning, discarding any re-entrant anomalies, the strings tuned consistently low to high from the 6th to the 1st string, helped drive the rise of a new concert guitar repertoire, leading to the creation of many concertos for guitar and orchestra. Possibly influenced by the new piano music, a style of guitar playing emerged that mixed top-line melodies with underlying arpeggio patterns. The melodic style, driven by the Italians Mauro Giuliani, based in Vienna, and Ferdinando Carulli in Paris and in London. Many composers, including the Spaniard Fernando Sor, taught guitar and performed to a small salon audience. Established composers such as Hector Berlioz, Nicolai Paganini and Franz Schubert also played guitar. Schubert's first edition of his celebrated Das schöne Müllerin was published with guitar accompaniment. Ironically, Schubert owned many guitars, but couldn't afford a piano. Generally, the guitar was still smaller than a familiar 20th century guitar. Slightly shorter scale, but with gut-strung 1st, 2nd and 3rd strings, and bases of silk wound with silver. Machine heads, for tuners, were increasingly replacing wooden pegs. It seems many guitars were converted in London by Louis Panomo at his workshop in High Street, Bloomsbury. James Westbrook's excellent book tells the important part London played in these developments. Some players started using footstools and other devices, but the guitar was still often supported with a strap or a ribbon. A bridge with a saddle became the norm, making adjustments to string height and intonation much easier. The fan bracing, introduced in Spain by the Pages family, was also becoming accepted by many luthiers. This modern reproduction guitar has a separate fingerboard, but not all 19th century guitars had this. The guitar was firmly associated with song accompaniment. Fernando Sor wrote many songs. In France and England, Sor, along with Matteo Carcassi and Ferdinando Carulli, created a huge repertoire of relatively easy pieces for salon performance and tuition. At the same time, they developed a virtuoso repertoire that would inspire the concert presentation of the future. These Tekla facsimile editions give a real insight into this era and have been recorded extensively on period instruments by modern soloists such as David Starobin. The luthier Johann Stauffer in Vienna introduced these distinctive tuners with an inline headstock. In many ways, this was a defining moment for the guitar, as thousands of European migrants left by the new steamships for the New World. Many took their traditional and folk music with them, and the guitar, unlike the piano, was portable. Born in Ireland in 1882, the distinguished author James Joyce played guitar and sang. The Irish were to play an important part in developments across the ocean. Possibly a student of Storfa, C.F. Martin emigrated to the USA and established a dynasty, initially making Storfa-like gut-string guitars for a repertoire of European tunes. In the USA, a melting pot of European folk traditions would meld with West African rhythms, pentatonic scales, and hymnal 1/4/5 harmony from the Christian tradition. The three-chord trick would be applied to the new form. The blues emerged, a genre that thrived on the portability of the guitar, still gut-strung at the end of the century. The new repertoire would eventually be played on the instruments of the Gibson, Martin and Fender families, all European migrants to America. Christian Frederick Martin of Saxony, Eastern Germany, trained in Vienna and established himself in New York in 1833. Orville Gibson, of British descent, established himself in Kalamazoo, Michigan in 1896. Many of these early American guitars retained the smaller parlour size of the early 19th century, grounded in the German, Italian and London traditions of their makers. Back in Europe, in the second half of the 19th century, in Seville and Almeria, Spain, Antonio de Torres gradually established the new plantilla, or shape and proportion, of the modern classic guitar. Torres also added a tournevis to focus the sound of his instruments. This cylinder of metal sometimes helped support the very thin spruce tables of Torres guitars. These were as thin as 1 millimeter towards the edge of the table. Torres guitars were quickly adopted by the great virtuoso Francisco Tárrega and his pupils Miguel Lobet and Emilio Pujol. I was lucky enough to play the first Epoch No. 12 with its remarkable sound. The guitar was very responsive despite my arthritis. The back and ribs of this guitar, like many Torres instruments, is of cypress. Torres felt the top of the guitar was the most important factor for sound. He sometimes used maple for backs and ribs, and even built a guitar with a body of papier-mâché to support his theories. Tárrega's pupil, Miguel Lobet, recorded with his 1859 first Epoch No. 9 Torres. This guitar was installed with a tournevis, and these recordings are available on CD. In 1893, André Segovia was born in Linares, Spain, and the stage was set for his 20th century work in the Philharmonic concert platform and on the newly emerging gramophone record.